Richard Majewski, and welcome to another edition of Take 10. Take 10 is a service department, corporate housing and global mobility podcast where we seek to offer insights based on informal chat and icebreaker questions to get to know the guests a little better, and followed by a summary of the guest's business so that you can examine potential collaboration. So without further ado, let's meet today's guest.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Stuart. Hi. A quick change of shirt, a quick change of glasses, and adding on probably about a year to that one. I don't know, really. Just look. Oh, time's been cruel to me. So, Stuart Duncan, remote lock. Over to you, Stuart, for a brief introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Yeah, my name's Stuart Duncan. I'm the general manager of Remote Lock in the UK and the EU, and kind of cover the whole of EMEA. So general manager encompasses a lot of different things. I do a lot of different things within our UK and EU operation.
Yeah, sounds like one of those where a lot of things can land on your desk. Busy fella. And weather like this, 34 degrees, I think it is. So for the viewers and for recording of posterity. So we are wherever you are in the UK, it's pretty hot right now. You're down in Brighton though, Stuart, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct. We have our kind of main office for the UK is here in Hove, Brighton.
Hove, yeah, nice.
Yeah, we also Remote as a company is headquartered in Denver, and we also have an office in Japan as well. So we have kind of global.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, look forward to hearing more about that. In the meantime, and what a lovely name for this process, icebreaker questions. I think that we want a buckets of ice right now wherever we are. So, are you ready for these icebreaker questions, Stuart?
Yes, I am. If I start sweating, it's not because I'm nervous; it's because it is hot.
That's right. That's right. Not the heat; it's the nerves. Exactly. So a few questions and perhaps a little topical. So there'll be, either or questions and what you prefer. Sea or ski? So the seaside or the mountains?
Mountains.
Yeah, you're bound to say that at this time, aren't you? As we're suffering there from the sea. But really, yeah, do you ski?
Yeah, well, I snowboard, and I used to kind of be semi-professional snowboarder, going way back. Late 80s, early 90s, and I kind of gave it up for 29 years, and then my son got me back into it about 4 years ago. So we've been going every year just for 3 or 4 years. So
that's a pretty cool thing for a dad to do, isn't it? I mean, that I think that the credibility there amongst your kids and their mates, it would be very high there.
Well,
I bet you've got all the.
Yeah, they do. In fact, I'm in my garden office, and I just spotted over here. There's a picture.
Yeah.
I don't know where this picture came from, but it's a picture of me snowboarding many
Wow,
years
brilliant!
When I was a teenager.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Hey, that's great. No, thank you for sharing that. That should be all over social media. I hope it is. No, that's great. No, kudos for that. So moving on, because I could talk about that all day. Strangest food, the strangest food you've ever eaten as a native Scot.
Oh, if it's a native Scot, it would have to be deep fried haggis, which is a real delicacy in Scotland. Whenever you go to the fish and chip shop, you have a haggis pudding supper, which is haggis done in a batter, deep fat fried.
Wow,
really.
I've never heard of that.
Have you not?
I've heard of fried Mars bars, but never fried haggis. And then that's like, well, obviously because it's batter on there, so it's crispy on the outside and kind of just like kind of sausage meat, like haggis on the inside.
That sausage shape.
Sausage shape.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Actually, that sounds really good. That sounds very appealing. I suppose it's a you might think an acquired taste. I don't know. Married to a German, and they like those kind of things anyway.
Yeah.
Then I am used to it. So well, not that we use those, on a regular basis, but and the Polish background as well, of course. So yeah, it's no, that sounds pretty. Oh, well, can't wait for lunch now. um, Football or cricket?
Football.
Football,
Good
and I
skills.
believe you're a Brighton fan, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you tempted by by Scottish football at all? It got pretty tense this season.
Yeah, it was a shame that Hearts didn't win because Tony Bloom, the chairman of Brighton, has also got a stake in Hearts. So it would have been nice to have seen Hearts win over Celtic and Rangers, but yeah, it wasn't to be.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Like nothing against Celtic or Rangers, but it's just that it's kind of all the time, isn't it? I don't know how many decades they've monopolised it for, but it's quite a few.
yeah,
I remember as a kid, and I would look, and so that was then the late 60s when I'd be doing this, looking through like lists of cup winners, and it was like even back then, Celtic Rangers, right from the beginning of time. So yeah.
yeah.
Classical music, and I don't know if you will probably put me right, being the trendy dad. I don't know whether they call it this anymore, pop granddad, but classical music or pop.
It would have to be pop.
Would you,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, you're not one for sort of getting the black tie out and sitting in an auditorium listening to
no,
Beethoven.
I wouldn't say no to it, but it's certainly not. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never been into classical music, so.
yeah, exactly, and I can relate to that. Do you have a favorite band? Well, what's your favorite type of music?
Oh, you know what? It's really mixed. I love listening to music and the radio's on in the background all day, but I
Yeah,
don't really,
yeah,
anything current,
yeah,
you know.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've lost touch with current, to be honest.
yeah,
There are one or two things that I've kind of heard by virtue of the kids, but otherwise, I just drive the wife and Alexa mad these days with things like Echo and the Bunnymen and the
yeah,
Stranglers and what have you, and Morrissey. I kind of, yeah, I kind of realize the music I'm listening to because I say it so much to Alexa. I probably, if I was putting on a vinyl, I probably wouldn't realize what I was saying, but when I have my wife shouting at me in the background, not again, then I realise what I'm playing.
yeah. Well, I mean, I like
Um,
from every decade from the 70s. So
yeah, yeah, exactly, and they're so different, aren't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Painting or drawing? Do you have an artistic side at all?
No, not really. I mean, the only painting I do is putting emulsion on walls and you know DIY. So that's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But I bet before everybody turns up, I'm not quite sure I caught the bottom of that snowboard, but I was imagining it was a bit graffiti-y, and
yeah,
I bet that when you are painting the walls, before anybody turns up, there's all kinds of graffiti on there, and then you know exactly when the family's going to turn up, and you've washed it in white before they turn up.
definitely.
Um, Beer or whiskey? I know it's a bit of a leading question for a Scot, but I might be surprised.
Definitely beer, not that keen on whiskey, to be honest.
Yeah, did you say yeah?
Beer, yeah,
You're
all the
bound
way.
to go for that on a day like this, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, but you've never been tempted by the whiskey, going to a distillery and drinking all you can.
I've been to distillery, but I just never taken to whiskey. I'd rather
Yeah,
drink tequila. Would be my
right.
spirit of
Oh yeah.
choice. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, right. I mean, I could ask you questions all day. I've got a few more questions, but we'll skip those, I think, because I'm actually really keen to hear about remote lock.
Yeah.
Um, so thanks for those thanks for answering those icebreakers, Stuart. And yeah, I found that interesting, and we'll continue some of those conversations when we chat off camera. But yeah, you please love to hear more about remote lock and the journey you've had and where it is now, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, Remote Lock is a company headquartered in Denver, Colorado, and it's been around for maybe 15 years. And originally it started by developing its own kind of smart lock a Wi-Fi connected smart lock and holds a couple of patents around smart lock technology. And for the first 4 or 5 years, that's really what Remote Lock focused on, just selling smart locks. And they developed a software application that went alongside that. But maybe 6-7 years ago, Remote Lock realized that where we could bring real value is not to be tied to one particular smart lock, but instead to develop our software to support many different brands of smart lock. Because over the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of new smart lock brands come into the market. So Remote Lock had the idea of creating this lock agnostic platform that supports multiple different types of smart lock. So, like brands like Yale, TT Lock, HID Mercury, Kwikset, Schlage. I could go on and on. There's many brands. And then on the flip side of that, Remote Lock is really focused in on software integrations. So we're one of the first Airbnb partners when it came to smart lock integrations, so a preferred partner. And since then, we've kind of integrated with over 100 different software partners. It really focused a lot in the hospitality and multifamily verticals. So a lot of property management systems, the likes of Muse, Guesty, Elena, Super Control, Room Raccoon, and then on the kind of the multifamily, big players like Yardi, RealPage, Entrada, and people like that. So by having both hardware and software integrations, it really puts us in a strong position to support property managers, anyone in kind of short-term rentals and longer-term rentals, hospitality, service department operators, a lot of different business types. And even more so, we're getting involved in a lot of commercial applications, commercial use cases where you've got pop-up stores, steel containers, bike stores. There's a lot of interesting use cases for smart lock technology that we're finding at the moment.
That's fascinating. So you are then software which can integrate with other companies' hardware and or other companies' software, as in brackets, really, the PMSs and channel managers, like Alina, etc. So you are a software that integrates with the hardware that's on the door and or software that is being operated by those service department providers or accommodation providers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's correct. I mean, we've done a lot of integrations. We have our own set of APIs that we offer out to partners who can also do the integration. And we're adding, usually 1 or 2 hardware smart lock brands per month and 3 or 4 software partners per month to our ecosystem. And from countries all over the world, because we have customers in 75 different countries. So. And then more recently, we've really focused in looking at the other challenges that hosts have around property management. And more recently, we've integrated with Honeywell thermostats and also Ecobee thermostats. And we're looking at automation now, is how automation can help the host save time and money. So a good example with our thermostat integration is that it now follows your calendar, your PMS, your bookings calendar. So a good example would be if I've got a guest checking out today at 11 a.m., we can have the heating turn off at 11 a.m., cool right down, and then it won't come back on until the next booking, a couple of hours before the next booking starts. So if the booking's not for 3 or 4 days, the temperature will just drop down to a set point, say 15 degrees, and it'll sit there waiting. And then if on, say, Friday, a few days' time, you've got a guest coming in, check-in is maybe at 3 p.m. At 1 p.m., the heating will come on automatically and bring it up to, say, 21 degrees, so that the temperature's at the right temperature. So that is huge savings benefits, cost savings benefits to the host, in that it's all automated. You're not having to log in to a separate interface for your thermostat and to be manually adjusting, thermostat temperatures. It's all done in the background. So that's a big thing that we're finding, hosts really like, because it has real you can see the cost savings, just by looking at it. So.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about how I might explain all this stuff, not just to, to my granddad, it would be like, just think of it like magic.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is something that it kind of goes beyond the realms of how the human brain can sometimes, or how my human brain can sometimes kind of, you know, understand it. It's amazing. And AI, is that something that's coming into it at all?
Yeah, not so much in the kind of day-to-day operations, but it certainly as a company, we've embraced AI heavily with our developer team. And again, like a lot of companies, not getting rid of developers, but developers using AI tools to iterate and develop new products faster. And a good example of that is we've just released a new product called Virtual Intercom, and this was developed using AI software tools. And rather than taking 6 months to develop, it took, I think, something like 6 weeks. And the virtual intercom is a really interesting product for hospitality and for multifamily, in that it doesn't require any physical intercom hardware to be installed on the outside of the building. We simply present a QR code at the entrance to the building, and the guest or the resident scans the QR code, and from that QR code, we're able to open the door remotely, validate the person, or in the multifamily scenario, we present a guest directory, and the guest can, or the delivery driver, whoever it is, can press the guest they want to contact, and we set off a video call with the guest. So again, the resident in the apartment doesn't even have to be standing by the traditional intercom. They could be, halfway across the world, but they're still able to speak to someone at the door and remotely open the door for that delivery person, or their Uber Eats delivery, or whatever it may be. So that's a brand new product we've just kind of released onto the market, using IoT and modern technologies.
Right, yeah. And I mean, so exciting. You took the words out of my mouth there, because I scribbled down, virtual intercom as being something to ask you about, and just to kind of recap on that, because it is so worth recapping on, I think. So it's my understanding then that you can service countries, I think you said 75 countries currently, but globally you can service accommodation providers, and those accommodation providers can be anything from a one unit Airbnb, if for want of a better expression, short-term rental, through to, as you say, multi-family or service department blocks. You can as a company, all right. So and depending on the setup of a building or a unit, and if I were to kind of put it in layman's terms that I understand, you've got one unit, let's say, where you've got the front door and the apartment door. Your virtual intercom can allow access to that, and I think you have a little bit of technology that you can attach to the existing intercom in an apartment, which cut a long story short, and just to summarize it as magic, you can the apartment owner can allow access through the building door and also the apartment door through their phone somewhere else in the world. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that's correct. If the existing intercom is, say, like a really old-fashioned standard buzzer style intercom that's not connected to the internet, what we can do is provide a little add-on device that you just wire up either to the intercom panel down in like, say, in the cupboard next to the entrance where you've got the intercom controller, and connect that to the internet, through Wi-Fi or Ethernet, or through a SIM card. And then, or alternatively, you can actually connect it to one of the handsets in the apartment. So if you, let's say, this is quite a common scenario that we come across. someone will be wanting to rent out one apartment in a building of 20, but they've got no way of, the landlord who owns the building doesn't want them messing about with the front door in any way, shape or form. No new keypads, no new hardware. You can install this little device, battery powered, just next to the phone handset in the apartment, connect that to the internet, and that can trigger the front door to open. So that's always been a big challenge in years gone by, is how do we get that guest through that front door the first time? And that's where this virtual intercom product really comes into its own. And we've got several different variations of it, whereby we can use a PIN code. So when the guest scans a QR code, they get asked to enter their PIN code, which is the same PIN code for the apartment door. So they don't have to remember 2 PIN codes, it's 1 PIN code. They enter that, it triggers the front door to open after some validation. And then they can go up to their apartment and use the same PIN code in the door and gain access. So, PIN codes are still very much the predominant access credential that we find in the industry, just because they're the easiest to use. Everyone, you can usually use a PIN code. Mobile credentials, and that's where you're using your mobile phone to access a building. They're becoming more popular as time goes on, and especially with QR code technology is quite sophisticated now, and there's a lot that we can do with that. So, and I think generally members of the public, people are more used to seeing, you're seeing QR codes everywhere now compared to what you did, 2 or 3 years ago.
100%. Yeah. No, I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see the person who came up with that idea, probably in the middle of the night, on the virtual intercom, and I'd love to see what time he or her got into the office that day. I mean, it's an absolute game changer, really, isn't it? It's just so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we have another use case for QR codes that we're deploying as well. We've one of the big pain points that we find speaking to hosts is always around early check-in and checkout, specifically checkout. And a lot of these customers that we deal with, there's not like a reception. A big serviced apartment building, it's been used for short-term rentals. There's no reception. It's all keyless, 24/7 access. One of the challenges you have is knowing when your guest checks out. Because some guests will have an early flight and they might leave at 6 a.m. in the morning, although the checkout time is 11 a.m. And what you often find is that you've got, deploy a cleaning crew, your cleaners down there around, 10, 11 in the morning, in the hope that you catch the the guest leaving the apartment, so you can get going with the cleaning. So we addressed that with developing a physical checkout button that's stuck on the back of the door. It's a connected device, and we ask the guest that when they leave to press the button, and that basically sends a text message to the cleaner and to the host to say, "Hey, I've checked out." So we've been running the checkout service for a while now, but we're now adding a QR code version, whereas you don't have the physical hardware. Again, it's a QR code stuck on the back of the door, and we're asking the guest just to scan that when they leave, and it will do the same thing. It will send the messages to let the host know, let the cleaner know that the apartment's ready. And I think it can make a big difference to a host. I'm knowing when the guest checks out, because if the guest checked out at 7 and you can get the cleaner down there at 8, you can have that room turn around pretty quickly and potentially then offer it to the next guest as an early check-in, either as a courtesy free of charge or charge a fee for it. So there's a lot of ways to get additional supplementary revenue by being able to offer early check-in, and a lot of guests appreciate being able to be offered that. So what we're doing with our check-in and check-out services is we're trying to automate the whole process so that it's very hands-off for the host. Let everything happen in the background. Let the guest initiate the process. When they check out, it triggers a chain of events that kind of happen in the background, and right through to the next guest paying for early check-in. And again, when they pay for early check-in, we then change the start time on the smart lock. So rather than the code being valid from, say, 2 in the afternoon, it'll be valid from, say, 11 a.m. So when they paid for early check-in. So again, it's just trying to automate everything as much as possible, saving the host time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cynic in me was going, yeah, but who would do that? They just go straight out the door with like a bag in each hand. But if it's like presented, to avoid late checkout charges, please scan the QR code,
Well,
and then who wouldn't do that?
I mean, I'm a host as well. I've got some service apartments up in Scotland, up in Aberdeen, and when I did the original trials for the checkout button, over a 6-week period of testing with multiple guests, we had a 95% success rate on people using the checkout button. And I think it's because it's at eye level on the back of the door. It's got a sticker. It's a nice shaped button. The guest sees it during the whole stay. Every time they leave the apartment, they see the button. And then we back that up in the guest messaging, say, look, here's our checkout process. When you check out, please remember to press the button. Because again, we link it to the heating system as well, where we can, so that when they press the button, it'll automatically turn the heating off. So again, you can use it for energy saving. With the QR code, it's a similar kind of thing. Again, the guest will see it every time they leave. And like you say, I mean, you can also incentivize the guest to scan the QR code. Maybe that's what you tie, like a save 10% off your next stay, book direct, if you press if you scan the QR code when you check out. So yeah, there's different ways we can incentivize. I can't say the word incentivize guests to make sure that they do check out in the proper way.
Yeah, fascinating. I know it's a very interesting topic, and we've spoken about it as well, in the past and recently. And there's so much really, the technology that can help the hosts and in turn, obviously, the guests. I mean, so in terms of it addressing the viewers right now, Stuart, what would you suggest to be like the call to action, if you like? It's to contact you by email or LinkedIn, or how's the best? If I had if I had property myself, then where do we start the conversation, taking it further?
Well, the best thing to do is to go to our website, remotelock.com, and we have obviously a lot of information on there, but we have consult forms. Just fill in the form, and that will be directed to our relevant office. If it's in the US, it goes to US office. UK, Europe, it'll come to us. Myself or my colleague Jamie will pick that up, and we have online booking there to book appointments. And and I mean, we very much at Remote Lock are kind of almost like a consultancy, in that most customers come to us, and a big use case at the moment is boutique hotels who want to get rid of or want to redeploy their check-in people at reception to do other things, and not be waiting there handing out cards or fobs to guests when they arrive. So what we do is we take a very agnostic approach when it comes to the hardware, the smart lock hardware. And we ask potential customers to send us photographs of their doors, their room doors, the entrance door. And what we will do is we will then make a series of suggestions on what we think would be the best smart lock or access control device for that particular door or doors. And again, we're not trying to push any one particular brand. Will help the customer find the right product. We do sell smart lock hardware, and we can usually offer them a pretty good deal once we know their requirements. But if they don't want to buy from us, that's fine. They can go off, and buy elsewhere. Like we deal with a lot of customers in Europe, and it doesn't make sense for them to buy smart lock hardware in the UK if they're, say, in Greece or Spain or wherever. So we'll help them. We have partners we work with in those countries, so we can help them find the right hardware. And then where we come into is with our the software. We'll help them get the right software plan for their needs, and can help with the onboarding and the whole setup and kind of hold their hand through the whole process, including, the connection to the PMS, which is obviously important for a lot of hosts.
So there's an awful lot of flexibility there, isn't there? And then therefore an awful lot of kind of a range of budgets that you can accommodate, which is great news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can go on Amazon now and buy, a smart lock for £100 direct from China, and it'll probably work perfectly well. But we work with some of the more bigger established brands and offer their hardware where you have a proper warranty and aftercare support. So yeah, we can usually find a lock to fit, all budgets basically.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, wonderful. No, thank you for all that information, Stuart. I really, enjoyed listening to it. So I think perhaps so. While yes, we've been speaking for over half an hour, and I'm sure that all you're thinking about is that long cold beer on the beach with a fried haggis. So thank you very much indeed for your time. And we'll close now, but don't go away. And I'll be with you in a minute.
Well, I'm just going to say just one last thing, Richard. Thanks for having me on. And of course, Remote Lock is a co-sponsor of the SABA meeting in London. Obviously, we'll be at the SABA meetings, my colleague and I, Jamie, through the summer. So hopefully we can meet up with potential, at the SABA meetings over the summer.
Good point. Very good point indeed. Yeah. So sponsors and attending Sabas, monthly Sabas last Thursday of every month. Yeah, indeed. Good point. All right, Stuart. So we'll press the end recording button now, and I'll see you in a little minute.
Thanks.